Hi, this is Tim from Garden Hands. It's almost a new year. We're 2 days away from January 1st. It's pretty nice weather outside. We built a shelter for Lindsay this summer, which we have a few pictures of that we're going to put up later. We've been kind of neglecting our filming process, I guess you'd say. We're going to get going at it again here. So she needed a way to feed the horses hay without having to do it daily, or I thought there'd be a better way. We're going to build just a small shelter that holds one round bale that's a foot off the ground and 8 feet tall, and we've got more timber here than we need, but about 8 feet long, that's on skids. So we can feed them we're going to feed the horses. So she can feed the horses in 2 different pens. This is going to sit on the fence line in 2 pens. So 2 different pens of horses can eat at the same time, and it's on skids so that she can move it in the summertime to a different spot and move it around her pasture and try not to do too much damage, keep the grass growing underneath it. Although in the summer you won't use it, right? Not as much. And this will have a roof on it, just a small roof. We've got some used tin that we took off from another building that doesn't look too bad, that we're going to put on there. And if need be, we'll paint it to match the rest of the buildings. That wouldn't be too hard to do. So this is going to be 8 feet long and 5 feet wide, or 6 feet wide? 5 feet wide. The round bales that we get from the neighbors are 4 feet wide and 6 feet tall. So this should accommodate them pretty good. And it's long enough that she could put in a large square bale if she wanted to, or just a bunch of bales, of small square bales. And then she's going to use a hay net over the top of the hay to help save the hay. So without further ado, we're going to cut these 2 pieces here that'll be our bottom skids, and we have the rest of the lumber, and we'll kind of talk through it as we go a little bit. So if you had your floor, I'll put this on the floor. If the floor was 1 foot off from the ground, let's say our bottom of our floor.
Yep.
So then you're going to have a 2x6 on top of that. We'll put it right there.
And that allows for 5 inches for the pallet forks.
Yes, you'll have plenty of room.
Maybe 6 inches, I guess I counted the temporary board.
Yep, so you'll have plenty of room for your pallet forks when you want to pick this up to move it.
Okay.
What do we say, a foot in here? So here's it. That's going to be the top of your feed floor. So we're going to start we put some of these plates we're going to put on here to tie this post to the skid, and there'll be a smaller plate on the other side that lines up with that. We've punched holes in all this stuff so they line up with each other, the holes do. So the tall one goes on this side, and then we'll have 3 bolts through here and 3 bolts through this, and then a bolt that goes through here also to kind of tie this together. Seeing we didn't finish it last year. It's another year. And I hold them up about 1.5 inches off from the ground. I've got a mark that I put on here, and I try and center them in the center of the post. And then what I do is I put this the first bolt, the top one that goes through the post, and this outside support. I put that in first after it's been centered here, and then I level it. And then I put another one in and put the small plate, which is this one that goes on the outside, but it's below this support here. So if I kind of do it in steps, then it seems like these bolts will line up. And I've got a bit that's long enough to go through the post. Just getting it lined up so you're going in straight and square is a little bit of a challenge, but it goes pretty good. 3/4, and we're at 3/4. So this one's good here. Two more months and we'll be tapping trees. We'll be doing this outside. Whoop, whoop.
Is that one dripping yet?
Nope, this one's not a good one. This is pine. We goofed on that one. Maybe we went too deep.
Did you say 2 more months?
All of January, all of February. Yeah, we'll be tapping the end of February-ish, kind of. 1st of March, kind of. Doesn't look level, but it says it is. Then we try and put the bolts in. This is the outside of the feeder, so we'll put the bolts in to the inside, and then we'll cut off the excess that we have with a cut-off wheel. I should have a hammer, shouldn't you? We got that one tight, so we got one more left, and then we'll get on to making the joists that the floor sits on. No sap on that one either. always leave a couple of threads that stick out beyond that, and then I'll hit them a little bit sideways, and that'll damage the thread enough that the nut cannot come off from it. So I'm going to hit that. And that's all it takes, is a couple of hits just to damage that thread a little bit, so then it's like a lock nut. Seeing it through wood, we don't want to loosen up any here. And if you do have to take that off, the nut will still come off. Your bolt won't be as good then, but it holds it on. From the wind will blow this a little bit. It'll have a little bit of sway to it probably. This way they'll stay tight. So we'll finish putting these in. We're putting some clips on, and these are just 2x4 joist hangers. I thought that's enough for this span, and I've got these a foot apart except where I ran into a support here. But they're a foot apart, so I figured the smaller clips would be enough for those. Saved 40 cents a piece. So we'll keep putting these in. We'll get to the other end, and then we should be able to start laying down our floorboards, I think. So we have our joists under the floor, and this one, there's a short one in here. That'll be where our pallet forks come up to touch. We have to fasten that up. That's why we put it in there, so we wouldn't forget that. We have our first floorboard notched out for the post. The second one's here. You have to even up the end of it, maybe check it for being square. We'll lay all the rest of them across there and saw the end off down on the other end to make it easy to saw them all and keep them all the same length to make it look good. Then the next step will be to put our, what do you want to call that, Lindsay? Your rim board or your edge? Those will go up in there 2 by 10. They'll go up like this around the perimeter of it. And this one on whichever side. The one on one side is going to have hinges, so that's going to tip down and allow you to have more clearance to get in with your round bale or square bales or whatever. So we'll put 4 hinges or 5 hinges on this, some big strap hinges to make that tip down, and then some system for a latch. I don't know if they're going to want to walk through here. Her intention is to put this in a fence line. So a fence will come up to the middle of it on that side and on this side, and you can have 2 different pens of horses or horse eat from each side. I don't know if they're going to want to walk through here or not. They won't. It's tall enough. I don't know if they will, unless you get a lot of snow built up. But our second plan is that we'll have a piece of pipe, of galvanized pipe that's 1.5 inches, that will fit in a bracket here that we can take out easy, and one on that side also, so that they can't walk through. If you have a pipe that's at this height up here, that won't bother them when they're eating, and it won't allow them to walk through. It'll be kind of simple. It could be on this side, so they push the pipe against this, and then it won't come through. And then we're going to have a roof yet. So it's moving along. So we were just getting ready to start putting our floorboards on top of the joists. We had the first one screwed down, and I had a brainstorm of an idea, which takes another hour to do, but if we'd put a piece of tin on top of each of those floor joists, it wouldn't rot as quick. I don't want to say rot, but there's a spot there between our boards because there's going to be a gap that the hay can go down and lay on that joist, and we've got time. It's a winter. We have some of this old Valley tin that we took off from a roof someplace. So I'll cut some strips that are 3 inches wide and lay those on top of our joists, and we'll just tack those down because there'll be other nails going through it. And that'll keep anything from hitting right on top of our joist. So if hay falls down, which it will, if hay falls down on it, it'll just sit on top of this tin for a few years before this rusts out. It'll just give it a couple more years of longevity, and that joist won't deteriorate as fast. So that's what we're going to do now. It'll take an hour to do that, but something to do. We can say we built it the right way, or what we thought was the right way. So it took about an hour. We had some Valley tin that we cut into 3-inch strips, and they're laying on our 2x6 or on our joists. So we'll just put our boards on them. Lindsay put some nails in just to hold them in place, and they'll protect these boards. We put a little bend around the post so they kind of help keep it away from the post or around the joist that's underneath there. So I think that'll go good. We're going to put the rest of the boards. There's 6 more planks, boards that are going to fit in here, and we'll space them. We're going to have 2 wider spaces in the middle because the hay is going to sit there. That won't get moved as often. And there'll be smaller spaces on the outside, maybe 1/4 inch on each of the boards, planks, whatever. And some of these planks are a little bit crooked, so having that gap and that ability to move them a little is going to help us pretty good anyway. They got a little warp or twist to them. So I think we'll be able to get these on here and move on to the roof. And then have the, after we get on, but we'll probably do that. We'll put the floor in and then we'll put the roof on. Then we'll put that skirt or that perimeter around there so we don't have to walk across that. For what we've got done tonight now, we finished up laying all the floor in, and we're going to start on the roof tomorrow or the next day, whenever. It's supposed to snow, so we'll probably be on snowplow duty, but we'll get started on the roof on the next sequence of things here, and we'll get some pictures of that. I'm not sure if we'll be able to video all that or not. If we're both busy, we kind of have to work in between each other's schedules, but we'll get that, and then we'll show you what we got when we get finished up. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe.